Hey guys, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to share how you can make an easy background for your Halloween cards. I'm starting out here with some Villainous Potion. I'm going to work the Distress Oxide into my brush and then I'm going to bring it up from the bottom of the cardstock. I'm going to go all the way across the cardstock to about 2/3 because that is where I want the color to start fading towards the top. I want the top of our piece of cardstock to remain essentially white so that purple needs to get really dark at the bottom and work its way across and going up. That's going to help the fade look really natural and it's going to look like it's meant to fade off into the distance. Once my base gets nice and dark, I can take what's left here on my brush and work it across the entire piece of cardstock. That will help that final fade. Now I'm going to bring in some Picket Fence Distress Spray Stain. I've shaken this up really well and I'm going to bring in my dye pick and lightly tap on the end of the spray nozzle. This will give me some really fine droplets and it'll look really nice once it dries. I'm also going to bring in some Frozen Fog Distress Mica Stain. This is kind of a gray silver shiny mica stain. It's going to look really nice with the white and the purple. And since I don't want those big droplets, I do tap off the spray nozzle onto the paper towel before I start, just on the bottom. See, I'm doing it here with the Distress Sprayer, and this is just water in my Distress Sprayer, and I'm going to do the same thing so we can get some of that nice oxide reaction. Once I have a nice covering, I can set that aside to dry and start working with the lovely Layers Scaredy cat. I'm going to make a cat, 2 pumpkins, as well as a bat and a spider. So I'll go cut out some cardstock. I have my 2 pumpkins here and I'm going to start by adding glue to the back of the smaller layer and I'll layer that onto the larger layer, which is a slightly darker shade of orange cardstock, and this will line up very easily. And then the stem is going to go directly over the stem on that larger pumpkin piece. I did the same thing for our second pumpkin off camera. There's also a jack-o'-lantern face if you wanted to make these into jack-o'-lanterns. Now I can put together the bat. I'll start by adding some glue to the back of his head, which I've die cut in a slightly lighter shade of gray, and it's going to line up perfectly over his right ear. There's also these tiny little pieces that are cut out for his ears and as well as his nose. So I'm going to use my wax pickup tool here because it makes it really easy to get a hold of those tiny little die cuts. Here's our finished bat. Now for our spider, I'm going to add his head to his body, again in a lighter shade of gray than the body. And I'm going to put this at an angle so that it looks like he's looking towards the right. Next, we can put together our cat. It's a little bit more complex. You can see this layer is going to go on top of the black one. And because the cat is all black, I don't want to lose those layers. So I actually cut out the top one in a lighter gray and I'm going to bring in Distress ink. And I'll bring it right over this dark gray cardstock. So it'll darken it up and make it look more black, but not quite the same as the black cardstock that's going to make the back portion of the cat. You can see here the legs now are a little more noticeable and are a little bit different from the body so you don't lose them. I also cut out a second leg portion of the cat from black cardstock and I'm going to layer that back behind our ink blended piece. This will help the body to be lifted off of the back portion. Again, just adding a little bit more definition so we don't lose all the parts of our kitty cat. Now I can add glue to the back of this entire piece and it's going to line right up over the cat's head on the main body. Really easy to layer. This set is not a complex set to put together. Next, I'll bring in the kitty cat head here and I'm going to add some glue to the back of the head portion and layer it over the head. Now you can see the gray from the ears peeking out. The hat is optional. There's a couple of cute little accessories you can put on your kitty. So I'm going to put this right over the kitty cat's ears. So I'll put some glue along the base of the hat and this pops right over the ears so it looks like the hat has openings for the little kitty's ears to peek through. Now, you could put the hat behind the face, but honestly, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. So I'm going to add this top portion of the hat here, which is the brim. And this is what's going to give your hat the 3D look that you're looking for. And it goes right over the area where the cat's ears are. You can see it lines up right along that portion and gives that 3D look. There is a scarf for the kitty that's 2 layers. You could layer those up. I decided I'm just going to use the top layer. So I'll put it right over the kitty cat's neck, and I'll add some glue right along the back, and this will go right under the kitty's head. You could skip this if you just wanted to have the kitty all black. It's a nice little touch. Now, I cut this detail for the hat from some silver glitter paper, and it's going to look like a little belt that goes across the hat. You could use this piece for a collar as well on the cat. I almost did that, but it goes right across that top base of the hat portion, and then there's a little belt detail, this little buckle detail. I am going to tap off any excess glue I have because it's such a tiny piece. And now for the kitty's eyes. These are pretty small. They are detailed. There is some embossed details on the face which make it a little bit easier to place everything. So I'm going to place the nose where that embossed detail is, and then I will place the whites of the eyes as well. I just added some glue directly to the face to do this. And so once that whites of the eyes are there, you could either color in the pupils as black, or there are pieces that cut out for those little pupil areas. And I would recommend turning your piece in the light because it's a little easier to see the embossed details on the eyes and see exactly where these pieces should go. But once they're on, they look super, super cute. You can bring in some white gel pen, and there's tiny little embossed dots on those irises that you can add white gel pen accents to, and it really brings the kitty cat to life if you do that. So here's our finished kitty. I have a Copic multi-liner here, but you could use any black marker, and I'm going to fill in the dots, the embossed dots that are on our spider as well as our bat to give it a little bit more personality. So here's our bat and spider with the cute added details. I am going to cut down my background that I created to 3 1/4 by 4.5 inches. And I do want to add some more interest to our pieces by adding some ink blending. So I've brought in a detail blending brush here, and I'm going to use the angled side of the brush in order to darken up the areas that have the embossed indentations. I don't have very much ink on my brush at all, and I am running it back and forth along those embossed lines all the way from the top of the pumpkin to the bottom of the pumpkin. And that's going to darken up those areas just slightly and make the pumpkin look more 3D. Now I have my largest detail brush. I'll get, again, just a small amount of ink on there, and I'm going to go around the sides as well as the bottom of the pumpkin. This, again, will add a little more depth, make it more interesting to look at. You can see the two next to each other, and the one where I've added the ink blending just looks more realistic. So I'll repeat the process for the other pumpkin. For our kitty cat, I have another detail brush here, and I have some Be Grateful ink, a nice purple, and I'm going to get some of the ink on there, work it into the bristles, and then very carefully come along the sides of the hat. You could do this before you put all your pieces together, but I knew my cat was black and that it wouldn't be impacted if I got any of my ink colors where they weren't supposed to go. I'm repeating that same process with some green on the scarf. So again, getting the angled portion of my detail blending brush and running that angled portion right along where the embossed detail is towards the center of the scarf. Adding basic details like this to your die cut pieces really adds a lot, and I think it's just such an easy way to take your card up a notch. I have a nice dark gray here, and again a detail blending brush to add some dimension to our bat and our spider. For the bat, I'm going to work the ink on my brush up towards the bottom of the belly as well as the wings of the bat. And then for the spider, I'll go in between each of those legs. I'm also going to go on his back as well as the area right behind his head. Now we can start putting our card together. I'll add some liquid glue to the back here of an A2 sized piece of black cardstock, and I'll add that on top of my card base, just going corner to corner. Next, we can add our beautiful background that we created, and I did cut this down pretty small. You could keep it as the entire background, but because this is a Halloween card, I really wanted to have that nice black background around the edge, and I thought it would tie in really well with our black cat. I am cutting one of the pumpkins. It's always hard to do that once you have put all the work into it, but I really want both of these pumpkins here, and I want the kitty cat to lay over the center, but I don't want to create more dimension than I need to because I want to be able to mail this card. So the pumpkin's going to come off the edge and go over into the black space on each side. It's going to break that wall of the design, and that makes it look like the scene is kind of coming towards you, and it's a really nice visual thing to look at. I've added some foam tape to the top of the cat's head and some glue here to the tail and to the bottom body portion. Those pieces are going to rest on the pumpkins. So I'll just take off my release tape here, and then I can pop this right over the pumpkins. Notice I'm not putting it directly in the center. I want the cat to be slightly over to the right, because I'm adding foam tape here to the spider, and the spider is going to drop down so it looks like the kitty cat is looking at the spider and maybe they're having a little conversation. Using that black multi-liner again to create the string for our spider dropping down. I've got some foam tape on my bat, and I'll put him up towards the top right hand corner. That's going to create a triangle between our bat, spider, and our kitty, and it looks really nice. I have the Sweet Halloween stamps and coordinating dies. I'm stamping 2 of the sentiments because at the time I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use. I used Happy Meowloween as well as the Hey Pumpkin stamp here, stamping them out in some intense black ink. And because the font line is pretty small on these, I'm going to stamp this a couple of times and only lightly press because I don't want to lose the detail of that line work from the stamp. So I've stamped it a couple times, and you can see now when I lift it up, they look perfect. Figuring out which die to use is really easy. The Happy Meowloween is 5 down, so then you just count 5 down for your die cut. And then you can see the Hey Pumpkin is in the same spot that it is on the acetate for the stamp. So I recommend keeping that packaging so that way you can always keep your die cuts on there and easily figure out which one is for which sentiment. I've added some foam tape to the back right hand side of our sentiment. I did decide on the Hey Pumpkin, and I added a little bit of glue to the back left hand side because that's going to rest on the kitty cat. I'll make sure to get this nice and straight, and you can see I'm putting it towards the bottom left hand side. I think that looks nice there. And now I'm just coming in with some white gel pen and adding a few little small lines and dots here and there to add some interest to the card. I did feel like our kitty cat's mouth was a little too intense, so I brought in a gray alcohol marker and I just colored right over my white gel pen very quickly to kind of gray that down a little bit. So here's our finished card with the fun shimmers in our background and our cute little kitty cat, bat, and spider. I hope you guys picked up some tips and tricks on how to make a simple background for your scenes just by using some Distress Oxide and a couple of different sprays. Please be sure to like and subscribe as well as hit that notification bell so that you know about future videos here on the Honeybee Stamps YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.